Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. In case you have been under a rock, the world around us is in ruins. A nihilistic worldview permeates the film industry. Sodomites control the cultural narrative. Corporations run by sexual perverts and money launderers are constantly pumping out garbage content in order to entertain us. We here at the Powell Bros are over it. We want to give honest reviews of movies that expose the wicked and glorify the good. We want to find stories that have masculine male characters who slay dragons, and feminine female characters who need saving. We want stories and want to see creators who have an artistic prowess that shames and defeats our enemies. We are tired of the nihilistic moral ambiguity of modern-day entertainment. And we want stories that change people, that inspire people towards goodness, truth, and beauty. And most importantly, we want the entire entertainment industry to bow the knee to Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. Yes, we are Christians, and we are unashamed of that. And if that bothers you, too bad. Now, if you do wish to support us in our mission, please head over to patreon.com/the Powell Bros, or follow the link in the show notes. There you will gain access to our exclusive show, the Powell Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews. Now, on with the show.
Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt play two polar opposite detectives, as one is retiring and the other just starting. A long road of very odd and obscure murders take place as they try to connect the dots in this psychotic adventure they are embarked on, by not their own doing. Continue listening as we review this chilling movie, Se7en. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We have been gone for a little while.
Yep.
And
we've been busy.
Yeah, we've been busy. We finished filming the primary parts of our TV show. That took up most of our time. We both got sick for a while, and it's just been crazy. So,
yeah, traveling.
We're back.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, traveling. We're back. We're doing our movie reviews again. I guess depending on how you're listening to this, you either know or not if we may be changing it to Patreon only. So if you're listening to this on Patreon and not seeing it a few days later, that would be because it's only on Patreon now, and we're going to continue moving forward with just posting movie reviews, any kind of review of a movie on Patreon only, exclusively for our listeners. And this will probably be a bit shorter as well. We've kind of discussed some changes that we're going to be making, and yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it, and
for sure,
and enjoy our discussion on this next movie and our top 20 films, my top 10 and Trent's top 10. And yeah, we are starting our second half of the season.
Yep.
And we are on my film Se7en, which was one of my picks. And Trent, I believe, watched it for the first time. Wasn't that right?
Nope. No. I've seen it before.
You had seen it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, what did you think of the movie?
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah. I've seen it more recently. Yes. But then I saw it again for this. But yeah, I love this movie. Great detective film. You're talking about like good detective stories that with good twists and that keep you engaged and interested and just drawn into the story. Yeah, this is like top tier. I definitely enjoy this movie a lot. It's dark and gritty. It plays on so many really good themes throughout the film, and that I think are intriguing and I think worth diving into and unpacking. And yeah, there's a lot of aspects. I love the two characters and their dynamic, and kind of the mystery behind a lot of the character's story. I love the villain. I think that he's set up really well and delivered really well by the end, and where it's like there's really fun, like not much to it, and the fact that they give him the name that they do give him is kind of that kind of plays on that, where he is kind of no one. He's kind of nobody, but he's someone, and he's the villain and the antagonist of the story. And yeah, solid, good. I liked it. Don't have much wrong with it. Fun movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a sucker for detective stories.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I agree with everything you said, and yeah, there's so many. Like, this movie has so many details. Like, it is incredible. Like, how many details, how many things that are put in the beginning that are fulfilled in the end. Like, just the cross references throughout are just really great. Just kind of getting into it. I mean, even like the introduction to our characters are great. One of our first scenes with Morgan Freeman's character, he goes into a crime scene and he notices that the victim had a kid, and he asks about the kid. He's like, how's the kid doing? Is he doing all right? And the other officers or detectives were like, who cares? Like, we're not here to worry about the kid. Like, nobody cares at all. But he cares. And so I think that was just a really good introduction to his character, that he is a man that cares about people. This is why he's doing it. And yeah, I thought that was good.
Definitely. Yeah. Solid. Yeah. And and just the contrast between both of them and their worldviews and where they're at as characters, where, Somerset's trying to just kind of get out of there, move on. He's close to retirement, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah. So he's
close to retirement.
He was like very, very close. He was like a week away from retirement. Right. And so he was like going to do one last case.
Yep.
And this is the case he gets. So he gets a case of a murder. He goes to the scene with the new guy that's going to replace him. Yep.
Played by Brad Pitt, Detective Mills. Yeah,
played by Brad Pitt. And so they get there. They learn about the murder. And I can't remember if it was the first murder that Morgan Freeman's character already knew that, like, this guy was going to do it again. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure he knew right off the bat, like, this guy's going to kill again.
Maybe, yeah.
And so he's like, I don't want to be a part of this case. Let the new guy do it. This can't be my last case.
Right.
And
he knew it was going to drag on and on. So it's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. He knew it was going to drag on, and he knew it was going to be a pretty dark case, and so he didn't. Right. He just wasn't interested. Yeah, so that's kind of where he's at, and then Brad Pitt's character, who comes in super cocky. He thinks he's the top guy, and that he can just take on any bad guy that comes his way. Mm-hmm. And he contrasted with Morgan Freeman's character, who's very calm and collected, very humble, and always, I mean, throughout the whole movie, he's always talking about knowledge, and he's at the library. He's constantly reading books. He suggests books to Brad Pitt's character. Like, he's always seeking knowledge and being humble, and versus Brad Pitt's character, who's just the complete opposite. So that whole dynamic throughout the movie just works really well.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I think that was just a good launching point for the story, and both our characters, as we're following them, and because they butt heads a lot, and there's a lot of conflict between the two of them that I think was well handled. But they all have a common goal in mind as they're trying to solve these cases and figure out who's this person killing all these people, and leaving all these mysterious clues at the crime scenes and so forth. So.
And there's one interesting thing about this movie too, is that there's no real point where Morgan Freeman's character actually says, "All right, I'm going to take on this case."
Yeah.
He kept, like, things kept happening, and he kept being involved, kind of intentionally, but also not really intentionally. Mm-hmm. I couldn't really get a clear idea if he was doing it intentionally or like he
felt obligated.
I feel like, yeah, he was almost obligated, but also didn't want to let go of it. Like, he didn't want to let go of his job. Like, as much as he wanted to leave his job and retire, he just didn't quite want to let go yet. And so I feel like that's why every time something was happening, he was getting involved and things were happening, but he never actually said, like, I'm not taking on this case. Like he at the beginning of the movie, he said specifically, I'm not taking this case. I do not want any involvement. He's like, okay, just give it to the other guy. And he's like, okay. But then things kept happening, and then he kept being involved, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And there's so much to jump into and unpack. Where do you want to take this as far as following the story, and where?
Yeah.
So like, what's the significance of 7 in this film? The primary
it's
one. And there's a lot.
7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
We got the 7 deadly sins.
Yep.
And
From
we have a murder
Dante,
for each one of them.
Yeah, from Dante's.
I thought I made a list
work.
of them.
What?
Huh? I don't know. Did you have a list of all the different murders?
Like the actual murders itself?
Yeah,
or
I don't know.
The 7
No,
deadly
it's
sins?
fine. Sorry. No, never mind. It's fine.
I mean,
Sorry.
like, yeah, I can.
So what? Yeah, what were some of the other? Unpack.
Yeah, so the seven deadly sins are pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. So all these aren't like exclusive. Like these are listed in the Bible as like these are the 7 deadliest sins. Like there are a lot of other sins. But most sin it comes from these sins of pride, greed, that pursuit of money, wrath and anger, envying someone else's wife, cattle, lust, lusting after something that's not yours, or someone, a spouse that's not yours, or another, a woman or a man, gluttony, overindulgence, and sloth, laziness, and so forth. So these are all sins that we find in Scripture. A lot of these are in the 10 Commandments, and these were kind of put together by Dante, who was a philosopher, or I don't know, like a religious philosopher, poet, writer during the I don't even know what century. I can't remember what century he's from. The 13th century, and Italian poet who wrote, like, his most famous work is Dante's Inferno, where he's really writing about hell, and just like telling a story from an interesting perspective of hell, but also his work on purgatory. A lot of the kind of Catholics' understanding of purgatory comes from him, if I'm not mistaken, and that there's a lot of elements of purgatory that are played in this film, and also a theory I have about the film that we can get into if you want. And so each murder is linked to a certain deadly sin. So the serial killer is going around and killing certain people that are guilty of these sins. So the first, what is the first one? I can't remember. Was it gluttony or no?
Yeah.
It was gluttony. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's the fat guy.
Yep. He was forced to eat himself to death.
Yep, they get the case of the fat guy. They ate himself to death by force. I think it was like right after he didn't want off the case. They get the call for the next one. What was the second one? Greed, I think. Yeah,
I think so.
The next one was Greed, because it's like a big attorney guy.
Oh yeah, so in the Divine Comedy. Oh yeah, sorry, I say Dante's Inferno. That was one of the books. So the Divine Comedy. I'm sorry. The Divine Comedy is his famous work, and in the Divine Comedy, he tells a story where he depicts the 7 deadly sins, in the 9 circles of hell, essentially. So the phrase "circles of hell," like that comes from Dante, and he depicts kind of the what it looks like for people to be guilty of these 7 deadly sins as they fall into hell, and so forth, in relation to who God is and their sin against God. Really, yeah, it's really interesting, and each circle of hell has a different sin and so forth, and so so that's what we see from Dante, and then he's researching he starts as as our characters are getting these clues from these murders. They start researching, and like I said, Somerset gives Mills a bunch of homework to do. Go to the library, borrow these books. He doesn't really want to, but he does, and a lot of them are related to the Seven Deadly Sins and Dante and so forth.
Yeah, yeah. So what other aspects did you find, I don't know, interesting about this? Like,
takes place in 7 days.
oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
Movie takes place 7 days. The city that they are in is never named in the film. They never. I mean, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but like, well, it sort of does. So it's a nameless place. It's kind of like, it's a lifeless. It's, there's nothing significant about this place that they are stuck in throughout the story. But they do not name what city. It didn't say it's New York City or Chicago or whatever. It's no name at all given in the film.
Yeah.
Interesting note.
I think I always thought it was like L.A.
I mean, obviously it was filmed somewhere. It was kind of probably loosely based off of an actual city, but not actually named or give it.
Yeah. No, that is interesting though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how'd you just kind of going through the movie? So a lot of the movie, they're seeking after the bad guy. They're trying to find him. They're detectives. That's what they're doing. They're finding clues. A lot of the clues are left there purposefully by the villain, so that they can. He like gives them an opportunity to not necessarily stop him, but to get a lead to the next kill.
Right.
Like the one for Sloth, like that was like they were never going to find the dead body unless they found the clues to find him. Right. So they were never even going to know.
I think Lust as well. Like they needed the other clues to figure out where this where it was going down. And
yep. And so a lot of connections, like with the villain kind of leading them, which I thought, I really liked that. But then we get a point where Morgan Freeman's character, this was like very much in his character of like, because we know he's very smart, he's very wise, he's slow, he's calm, he's taking each step very precisely and with a lot of thought. And so he thinks, I can't remember what he does. You'll probably remember of what he does to they actually get ahead of the villain. Do you remember what it was?
No, I'm blanking.
It was something with a library, right? Like a library card or something, so that they can get his.
So they figure out, because the villain, he completely burnt off his fingertips, so he doesn't have any fingerprints. He he's basically a nobody. But they find out where, like, I think so they're researching all these books and they're reading all these books, and they're like, oh well, what if we find out who has rented these books in the past however many years, or past year or months or whatever, because this isn't everyone's average. Not everybody's reading this every day, so they kind of do that research, and they find out, okay, well, this person borrowed this book and then his address is this, so they find where the address is. They find his apartment, and as they're breaking into the apartment, the guy comes down the hallway, sees them, and then takes off running, and then they have that whole chase. So we get that, we finally get that point. So like they're always chasing him, and we finally get that point where they are actually, because of the character because of Morgan Freeman's character, of who he is and the way he acts, he's able to get a step ahead and catch up to the villain. And I really liked that, and like how it just really moved the story, because like the villain was moving the story. Now we got our heroes are one step ahead. They've found the guy's house. They now have access to the house. They got into it. They have all his stuff there. They're all looking through it. They're not able to find that much stuff. I think they found something that led them to one of the other murders, maybe. Can't remember. Yes.
But not long later, not long later. Oh, no, I don't think they find it. I think because he calls him. He calls him in his own apartment. So the villain calls him in the apartment, and I think he gives him a clue then because he's very surprised and impressed by them. He's like, "Wow, you guys are doing really good. This is fun. Like, you guys are kind of catching up to me." We also see that it's like a game to him, and that really shows the evilness of him. I like that. So yeah, so he calls him. He's impressed, and then not long later, he actually turns himself in. So it's very much like back and forth of like who's leading the story, but it's making you so interested and invested in the story in the movie while you're watching it. Yeah. I thought that was really good.
Totally. Yeah, you're intrigued. You're as they're gaining new information, we're learning alongside with them, which is good storytelling. It's pretty basic, straightforward. And they don't have to like give us exposition, or like one thing I hate in movies is when characters tell us things, or like they say things to another character that like those characters already know. They're like over explaining it, and they're just saying it so that we can learn about it instead. And or if it's something really obvious that like is happening right in front of them, and they have to sit there and explain, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, look at this. Oh, here is what's going on. It's like, yeah, we know, we saw it. Like, you don't have to tell us that.
Yeah.
Like that happened in Venom 3 a couple times. I was like, oh, come on. What? Like, that was so pointless to tell me that just happened because I just saw it happen.
Yeah.
Rings of Power did that over and over again. It's so annoying. It's just bad writing. But anyways, this film does a good job. It's just like, as the characters are learning, we're learning, and they're not over explaining. They're helping us. We're coming alongside them in this journey in this story that is being told. It was well done.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, as we,
yeah, would you kind of, so like getting into kind of the third act, how'd you feel about the third act? What'd you think of just all of that, everything that went down?
Yeah. So the antagonist, who we find out was basically, his name is John Doe. So he's a nobody. He's a John Doe, which I love. That's his name. Like he's never given another name. He has no history. He has no background. He's a nobody, and he turns himself in to the police, and he basically says, "Hey, like, I have one more murder that's going down, and this is where it's going to happen." And
two more murders.
Basically, what was that?
2 more murders.
Or 2 more murders, yeah. Right. 2 more murders are going down. And what was left? Was it
Wrath
and
Envy?
Yeah. So Wrath and Envy were the 2 murders that were left. So our detectives know, like, they know that. It's okay, we have 2 left here. Like, these are the 2 that they can be. He gives kind of stipulations that, hey, like, I will tell you where and when this is going down if you go to this destination, and it's just the 2 of us. Right, it was supposed to be just Mills and John Doe.
Yeah.
Somerset follows them. Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it was both. He wanted both of them, but what I guess my question was, like, kind of like how'd you feel about how the whole third act was handled? And
I thought it was, it kind of happens,
and even like the surprise ending,
right?
All that.
Yeah, I feel like it was I felt it was a little rushed, but it was well set up. Where it's like, okay, he's turning himself in now, and now all these things are all the events happening. It's like, okay, we're getting to the end, and like there's that tension, the scene where they're driving out and they get to the trailer and everything. Like, that's really, really tense scene that I appreciate, and I definitely enjoyed. You're on the edge of the seat. You don't know what's going to happen, and then once things start becoming more clear, once clues start getting revealed, once Somerset finds the box, and because the delivery guy comes, meets Somerset, gives him a box, a package, and everything, and so he has to open it. And as he's opening it, you start to like get a sense of like, oh, I think I know what this is. You find out that it's Mills's wife's head, and so she was one of the final victims, and And then as Mills is like starting to find out, it's just like it builds the tension up and up. It gets more and more intense. You just don't know, like, is he gonna bust the lid? Is he gonna give in? And then is he gonna become the final murderer or final victim? Or no, sorry. John Doe would be the final victim of Wrath, where Mills would lash out. So the final deadly sin. And so it's just like you just don't know where this is going, what's going to happen, and then that scene between Detective Mills and John Doe, when Mills finds out my wife is dead, this guy killed her, and he's pointing the gun at him, and he's just like he's fighting, and that you see that struggle, and it's been leading up to this point in this film. You know, his things are not going well, or things were not going great in their marriage as he's been dealing with this case, and there was a little bit of concern about maybe she was cheating on him, but she wasn't. And then he finds out that she was pregnant, and that like even puts him over the edge more, like it pushes him towards the edge even more, and now he's like gonna bust the lid. And then so I'm depicting all this because it was just so intense, and I thought it was really well set up throughout the whole film and leading up to this point where the character can go any which way. It's like, is it going to be a good ending? Is it going to be a bad ending? And I think overall it was well handled. Like I said, it made a little rush in third act. It's like, okay, now everything's like coming to an end now. It's like we've been leading up to this way. This is the final stop, and we're going to finish the story. And because once he turns himself in, it's like, okay, now he's there. It's like, you know, and you wonder, like, okay, is this going to be someone that we know already, a character that we've seen, in, you know, like a dirty cop or whatever? It's like, oh no, this is nobody, and that's kind of the point. And so I kind of like that for the most part, and and then once we get to that final scene, it's just really well handled, well shot, great cinematography, great score, and great finale. Not you know, where of course it's not a good ending for at least our character Mills, and because everything loses everything.
We get and he falls and he does take out his wrath on him, and so he does essentially get beaten by the villain, and we had Morgan Freeman's character there pleading with him, like, don't do it, don't do this, do not kill him, put the gun down, you know, let justice take its course, like this guy's gonna go to jail forever, like don't kill him, please. And because he knows that, I mean, it's gonna ruin Brad Pitt's character's life, like if he goes through with this, and we had like their personalities going through this movie as their character growth went out through this whole movie, and they've grown as characters. Morgan Freeman's character is like really hoping that like everything that he's taught him, you know, and with just his own knowledge, like he was really hoping like that he would make the right choice, and even we as the viewers were like, please, like, make the right choice, don't kill him. But he does, he goes through with it, he kills him, and then you see that on Morgan Freeman's face, like, I failed. Like I thought that was all really great and well played out.
You like a lot of tragic stories.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they've been great films.
Yeah. But I think one of the main points is that this is Morgan Freeman's story. Like,
yes, it is.
It's our second Morgan Freeman movie.
Yep. This is Red after he got out of prison, and he's became a detective, and he's just ready to move on.
Yeah. I don't know. Was there something redeemable at the end? Like what do you think of like how, like with Morgan Freeman's character's story, like at the end, I can't remember what really how it kind of closed after that, but
well, it basically does close. Like there's not much more. He has that last line, which is pretty significant, where he says that the world is a fine place and worth fighting for. And he says, I agree with the second part. All right, meaning I agree that the world is worth fighting for, that the people in this world are worth fighting for. Mills was worth fighting for, even though he made the wrong choice and he became a tragic character. But the world is not a fine place, and it is hell in a sense. And it's like, okay, well, we of course, depending there's a little bit of like a like, and that's where I was wrestling with, like, is this preaching nihilism where there's just hopelessness, everything is just there's no nest, there is just evil, like, so there's not really any good in this world, and there's not really any hope, kind of, and like I don't know if I can make a definite stance on that, because I do think like it does make it clear like that Somerset or Mills made the wrong choice. However, it's like, if you're put in that position where your pregnant wife has just been cut up and murdered and cut up, and this psychopath has been driving you crazy for this whole week, and has been murdering all these people, is right in front of you, and you have a gun to his head and you have a chance to kill him. It's like, man, like, yeah, like a lot of people would make that same choice in that position, where he's just been broken down as a character completely, but he still made the wrong choice. There's also the kind of question, like, what is this story and what is the world that they've set up, and like what is really going on in all this. And I think, like, in a sense, in a way, Somerset he's going through hell, like literally and figuratively, and from like the whole like Dante's perspective, it's really kind of like a purgatory. He's like in the middle, and I think the whole point of the film is he's kind of trying to get out of purgatory, go off to paradise, and so obviously, like I said, this is a very Catholic understanding of the afterlife and heaven and hell, and then the fact that there is a purgatory, which there actually is not. But I think that's what this movie is. That's why they have the 7 deadly sins. Like, this is Dante's Divine Comedy being played out, as his character is going through the 9 circles of hell, but also in like kind of a purgatory state, leading to that final state of whether or not he's going to hell or going to paradise. And so for the most part, he kind of, like, I don't know, like, there's not as much of a satisfying conclusion as I wish there was for Somerset's character, because he does see one thing about the world. It's like, it's worth fighting for, but it's not a fine place, and there's truth to that. Like, there is weak and there is evil, and there's only one really true hope. And the question is, does he find that? It's like, well, in the worth fighting for aspect of it, it's like there is something good. There's good truth and beauty that he knows is out there. He just can't find it, and he's looking for it throughout the film. He's trying to move on with his life. He's trying to get out of this hell. He's trying to get out of this town, this nameless town, and this dead end job, filled with all where doesn't there a thing about the story how he's only pulled his gun out on a perp like once before?
Yeah.
And so it's like he's even not seen that much in his career as a detective, like that much, like, or he's not been put in those places of like where he's had to kill someone or where he's been confronted with much death, except for his like, well, okay, maybe not. Like, he's had to come face to face with other perps until now, and then he's experienced all this all in this 1 week, and it's and where he has this partner that completely loses himself as a character, and and has a tragic end, and it's like he feels kind of guilty for that, but he fought for him, and he wanted to see this character make the right choice. He wanted him to not end up in this hell, in a sense, which he ended up doing. And so he was like trying to take him on a journey while he was also going on a journey, and like I said, doesn't really give us a whole lot of much of a satisfying conclusion for Somerset, though it kind of does, because like he does go on the right path in a sense, and has a good ending. Like, he ends his career as a detective. So
yeah, I feel like it with the world that they set up and all that he had gone through, like, it was like almost like it was bound to happen. Like, it was bound to just not work out, and it was almost like he knew and that's why he didn't want to take on this case, is because it's always like, things just don't work out. It's a dark world, and it just kind of ended, and he retires, and he won't have to deal with the darkness anymore. And it's interesting.
But there is a sense that like it is a pessimistic worldview being preached here, where, like I said, the world is not a fine place. Like everything is wicked, evil, and like this is just what we have to go through.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I also think like, I mean, if you think about the ending, like, I think there's that. It's like showing that there's hope within the darkness, and especially because like he got Mills to like. Mills was fighting it. Mills was trying not to kill him. And I think that was a really important thing too, because that shows that like even Somerset was seeing that, like he's like, there's a chance that he won't do it. And there's that glimmer of hope, like that he could choose goodness, and you know, he's fighting it. He failed, but Somerset can see like that's why it's worth fighting for, because we can get to that point, like where people will make the right choices. I also want to add, I want to move this to, I want to ask you what you thought of this one conversation, and it might kind of tie into what we're talking about. The conversation he had with what's his wife? Tracy. Yeah, about like it was about the abortion. It was the abortion conversation.
Right.
What were your thoughts on that? And
I mean, something like I didn't necessarily like it because there was it was just kind of even from like the story standpoint, it was making him no really better off than anyone else. Like, you know, if I remember correctly, he had his girlfriend have an abortion, or he paid for an abortion, or he let her abort the baby and didn't stop it.
So I can't remember exactly what happened, but his girlfriend had got an abortion. I don't think he paid for it. I think he wanted her to get it. Yeah. She got it, and he has since regretted it his entire life. Oh, he did regret it. Okay. He has been regretting it, and that's so he never told.
Was he
never
regretting
told
it?
his?
Was that?
Yeah, okay. That was the point. Okay. But like that was the point that he was telling her, not very vividly. No. Telling her like, don't get an abortion. He was saying like, it's up to you, but this is what happened in my I'm not telling you what to do. This is your choice, but this is what happened in my life, and this my girlfriend got an abortion, and I think he told her to get an abortion or pushed her to get it. Yeah, and he's regretted it his entire life, and so like, but that is what stopped her from getting an abortion too. Like it worked. Is, like him telling that. And it's like, that was, I think that ties in too, of it's worth fighting for. Like it's worth fighting to get these people to make the right choices. She made the right choice. Like she made the right choice not to murder the child. And I mean, it kind of ties into even the world that we live in. We live in a dark world right now. Mm-hmm. And especially with a post-millennial view, like you have this like, it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for because of that glimmer of hope of like, I mean, it's more than a glimmer of hope for us. But if you look at it, you know, if you just look at the world blanket,
there's life beyond the grave. There's light and darkness.
Yeah. There's hope that people are going to start making the right choices. People are going to change and make for the right choices. And I feel like that's a lot of what the message is in this movie, is like, especially with that abortion conversation. I thought that was a really important conversation, and the way he handled it, he should have said like it was wrong, but just the whole way it went down, I think it worked, because he was like, because I pushed her to get it, I have regretted it my entire life, and I wish I had my child, is essentially what he was telling her. And she understood that, and that's why she didn't get an abortion. And I think that's why it's so important, because she's even later pleading for her child. Kevin Spacey's character, John Doe, explained to him like she was pleading for the child inside of her. And I think that's so important as well. Like just pointing to like, she understood like it was a child inside of her. Yes. And so like,
there was life there. Yeah.
Like and that was just such a huge underlying story within this. Like that was the winning story. That was the hope in the movie. And then you had Mills, who was fighting it, trying to make the right choice. He didn't make the right choice. He did kill the guy. He did commit murder, whereas Tracy didn't commit murder, but he was fighting it. And so I think Somerset's character could see that and understand that there is hope. There is goodness in the world, and there are these people that can make the right choices, and it's worth fighting for. And I think that's the overarching story of this movie. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily disagree. It's that last line where I think there's some aspects where I would agree that like he does know there can be hope, but then again, it's like the evil still won, the bad guy still won in the end. He got the villain got what he wanted, and this world is not. It's not a fine world. It's not a good world, you know. Yeah. But then it is worth fighting for.
Exactly. So, it's not a good world, and he desires the time when it is going to be a good world.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can agree.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's good discussion, and there's just a lot to really dive into and unpack. A lot of directions you can go with this, and
sure.
it creates a good conversation. I think that's what movies should do, and I think this movie does a great job at that. Where it's like, even if it is a bad ending, like there's still something we can learn, and because especially when you do understand, know what is truth, goodness, and beauty, and what is worth fighting for, what is worth pursuing, and what it looks like for goodness to overcome the bad, and for good to overcome evil, and the light to overcome darkness, and so forth. And and sometimes you do have tragic stories. There are people live tragic stories, and that is true. And this was a tragic story that we watched and worked through, and that we can learn from, which I think we can and do. So
for sure, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're done with this movie, huh? Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really. So,
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. Well, this was our review of Se7en.
We need to rate it though.
That is true. All right. Trevor just cut all that out.
Okay.
All right. Man, what do you think of this movie?
Oh, it's been a while since we've rated these. Yeah. So I like, this is, I don't have much wrong with, like, as far as like maybe like the pessimistic ending. Yeah, I don't know. I think, but with some glimmer of optimism, I say it's like an 8-9 for me. I think it's a solid film. Like, well directed, well written, well acted. I don't have much problems with it. I think 8-9 is where I'd put it.
8-9.
What about you?
I'm thinking like 9-2.
Okay, so we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. So what? So 9-2. I mean, I can go up to a 9-1. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 9-1 it is.
Yep. Sweet. It's good. A lot of 9s. Not what we didn't give it a 7. A 7.7.
Yeah. Tied with Surf's Up.
Yeah.
Oh, 7.7.
We still need to review Surf's Up 2.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this review. We know we have a shorter review now. It's probably gonna be pretty common that we're gonna have shorter reviews just with our changes, and we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed these. We spent a lot more time talking about the movie and our opinions in the movie, and I think that's a lot better, and I think that's what you guys want. And I don't think we need to be diving into every aspect of the story as much,
right?
Because you can go watch the movie to if you want to know every aspect of the story. And when we give it a review, and if we give it a high review, go watch it. 9-1. We definitely recommend going to watch this movie. It's a good movie. A lot of things to unpack, and we hope you enjoyed this review. We thank you guys so much for listening. And if you want to support us, head over to patreon.com/thepalbros. We do mini reviews there. We typically have a little chat after these reviews about just interesting facts and all that. And we hope you enjoyed it. And we look forward to next time. So remember to glorify God and watch good movies. See ya.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.